Hi, boys and girls. This is Grandma Sheila, and our story today is called Georgie Leads the Singing. It was during the time of war. Bombs had been falling on the big city. Many people had been hurt, and some even were killed. And a great number of houses had been blown all to pieces. Hospitals were crowded with all the injured people from the war, and doctors and nurses were busier than they'd ever been. Then, one chilly winter morning, a very strange thing happened. It was very early, between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was just starting to get light outside. A nurse walked out of a certain big hospital and saw what looked like a bundle of clothes sitting on the steps. Stooping down to check more closely, she saw that under those wraps was a little boy. He could not have been more than 4 years old, and his sad brown eyes looked up at hers, and her heart was touched. "What are you doing here this early in the morning?" she said kindly. The little boy did not say anything, but he pointed to the piece of paper that was pinned to his coat. The nurse unpinned it, and began to read. "My name is Georgie. I'm not quite 4 years old. My mama is dead. My grandma is dead. Please look after me." That's what that note said. "Oh, you poor little thing," said the nurse, picking up Georgie in her arms and hugging him very closely. "But whatever shall we do with you?" Marching up the steps with her strange little bundle, the nurse went back into the hospital and tried to find out what should be done with Georgie. The other nurses felt very sorry for him too and wanted to do what they could do to help. But the busy doctors said there wasn't time to spend on a case like this now. He should be sent to an orphanage as soon as possible. But the nurse who'd found Georgie on the steps didn't want him to go away. She wanted to do something for him herself. So she hunted all around the wards of the hospital to see if there wasn't some little corner that she could put Georgie in without him being in the way or being noticed too much. She searched and searched, but it appeared that every place was full. At last, however, she came to the section of the ward for women, where all the elder ladies were cared for, and there she found a place just big enough to put a tiny little bed in the corner for Georgie. Naturally, the old people were very much interested in this little boy who had been put in the ward with them. They rather liked the idea of having a child there, for it gave them something new to talk about. Then, too, Georgie was very good and quiet, and he didn't bother them at all. Well, the first night, Georgie was in the women's ward. The nurse who had found him came in and tucked him in and bid him good night. As she was doing so, Georgie spoke to her. "Me want to say me prayers," he said, looking up solemnly at her face. The nurse was so surprised. How, she wondered, did a little boy like this, barely 4 years old, left destitute on the hospital steps, know anything about saying his prayers? He must have had a very good mother, and probably a very good grandma, too. "All right, dear," she said. "You may say your prayers if you wish. How shall we begin?" Little Georgie looked up at the nurse and he said, "Shut your eyes." So the nurse smiled and she shut her eyes tight. "Put your hands together," little Georgie said again, and the nurse did what she was told. "Now we're ready," said Georgie, and he began to pray, a prayer, more like a song, that his mother or his grandmother must have taught him. And here it is. "Jesus, tender shepherd, hear me. Bless thy little lamb tonight. For the darkness be thou near me. Keep me safe till morning light. Amen." Georgie opened his eyes just in time to see the nurse bending down to kiss him. "Me sing that in the morning," he said. "All right, dear," said the nurse. "You shall sing it in the morning." And in the morning, Georgie began to sing his prayer. He sang it on and off all day long, and all the women thought it was very sweet and beautiful. Then, one night, the air raid began to sound. That was the loud noise that they made to let the people know that bombers were coming and they should rush and get to a place of safety. And that dreadful wail set fear into everybody's hearts. The bombers were coming again with their grim loads of death and destruction. All the lights were put out. It was totally black in the hospital. The ward was very dark. Soon, the bark of the aircraft guns could be heard. They were followed by distant booms. The boom of bombs falling. It was getting nearer and nearer to the hospital, and the elderly women put their heads under their bedclothes as though to shut it all away. Then suddenly there was a terrific noise of a bomb as it fell right in the courtyard of the hospital. The whole hospital shook. Every window was smashed. Even the wooden casings of the windows were blown out, and little pieces of glass and wood went all over that women's ward. The women screamed in fright. Poor little Georgie. He'd been asleep when the bomb exploded and scared him, and he began to cry out, "Me want my grandma, me want my grandma. Somebody light the dark, somebody light the dark." Just then, the nurse came running into the ward and picked her way through all the debris on the floor. She came at last to little Georgie's cot. "Are you okay, Georgie?" she asked. "Me want my grandma," said Georgie. "Somebody light the dark." The nurse picked him up in her arms and tried to soothe the poor little boy. Suddenly she had a bright idea. "Georgie," she whispered, "sing." "Don't want to sing," said Georgie. "Somebody light the—" "Georgie, yes, Georgie, you need to sing," said the nurse. "Sing. I'll help you. It will help everyone." "What shall I sing?" "You know, your little song. Go on. Sing it, Georgie. Sing it," she said. Georgie began. In a faint, broken, tearful voice, he started to sing, "Jesus, tender shepherd, hear me. Bless thy little lamb tonight. Through the darkness be thou near me. Keep me safe till morning light. And then a wonderful thing happened. From way down in the ends of that pitch dark ward came the sound of another voice. One of the elderly women were beginning to sing too. Oh, it was a quivering old voice, but it was singing, and it was singing Georgie's song, Jesus, tender shepherd, hear me. And then another quivering voice joined in, and another, until all down through that ward, in the midst of the darkness and the terror of that dreadful night, everybody was singing that lovely little song. It seemed to be that God was very near. As they sang, Georgie gathered courage, and he sang louder and louder, while everyone felt better just to hear him singing. Over and over again they sang that little song, until at last the sound of the guns and the bombs were gone. The lights in the hospital came on again. What a beautiful thing it was that Georgie did that night. Those ladies weren't afraid while they were singing to God to be with them. Georgie's song. Yes, Georgie's song. Maybe one day you may be able to do something like that too, to help other people so they wouldn't be afraid. Singing in the dark. Yes, singing Georgie's song in the dark. A song that talked about Jesus being very close to them in such a bad time. No matter how young you are or how old you are, you can bring happiness to others just by letting them know that Jesus is there close. Thank you, boys and girls. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.